The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
Here on RaceSpotTV, and as always, Monday Night Skippys is back. Took a break last week, of course, because of some minor commitment issues, but at the same time, we are back for the big finale. It's going to be fantastic. We're here at Circuit Park Zandvoort here in the Netherlands, and, well, the racing is going to be phenomenal. This track never fails to disappoint. It's Rachel Wyford and Will Vincent here tonight, and points are looking, well, closer than you might imagine. Fahim Tanides is on 322. Edwards on 300. We could still have a title decider here tonight. Anthony Catt is back in third place, 254. He's out of the running, but he's still there with Bill Fraser, battling for that bronze place there, third spot on the podium. Ben Daniels is just behind them there. He could also contend. Clark Williams, Matt Cox, Jack Hobbs, Ewan Patterson and Robert Plumley in P10 for your championship points. So it's been a lot closer than people would imagine, and consistency has always been a big factor. Simon Maltby, he's averaged around 20th place most of the season, but he's ended up in 13th place in the points because he's been a consistent racer. And that's what championships require, Will. It's consistency.
It is indeed, and it's going to be really interesting to see Fahim versus Simon tonight. It will be a simple case of Fahim basically needs to finish ahead of Simon, but if he doesn't, this is when we're going to see whether Fahim deserves this championship, Rachel. Will he be able to keep his nerve, or will he crack under that pressure of trying to get places?
Certainly will, and if you see our professional graphics there on the screen, it's and Will. Yeah, and Will Vincent, he's just penciled himself in there, but we'll update that one eventually, I'm sure. But either way, Bill Fraser leading the way in qualifying at the moment, 51.461 there for him, 1 minute 51, of course. Second place, Simon Edwards is about 3/10 back at the moment. That's quite a big jump for you. McRitchie and Antonides all in that 7/10 of a second bracket. Look at our 1 second window here. So we're looking for a 52.4. That comes up pretty quickly, P11. So things are getting pretty close tonight in how the race is going to go down. The field is spread, which means whilst we've got quite a few drivers in that top 10, Will, who are going to be very close together for this one. I think the field, as it always happens at Zandvoort, will tend to spread out and we'll get these little pod battles throughout the grid.
Yeah, and you've got to remember, Rachel, this is a track that a lot of people don't race all that often. It is a tough track. It's a very narrow track as well. There are drafting opportunities, especially from Kumo Corner all the way down to Tarzan. But from turn number 5 through to about the exit of Vodafone, it can be very hard to make passes.
Certainly can be, of course, and well, a couple of moments left on the qualifying now. We have to bring you that final qualifying order. Welcome if you're joining us tonight for the race. This is the final round of this season. How quickly this one has gone. But it looks as though Antonides may still be in the field to defend his championship and to try and take home another one tonight. That will be the critical chance. Can he stay ahead of Simon Edwards in points? Well, 22 points, Will. He can finish 4th, I think, at best, if Edwards wins, but he has to be no further back than that.
Yeah, and right now, Fahim is in 4th place. Simon Edwards is in 2nd place. So, I made an allusion on a broadcast a couple of days ago to what happens when you don't need to go for the win, how you need to change your mindset to make sure you don't get involved in an issue. The good thing is both Fahim and Simon are at the front of the field. So that whole mid-pack shenanigans that we sometimes worry about, that one shouldn't be an issue here tonight.
It shouldn't be. But when you know you're not fighting for the win, that changes the mentality in quite a critical way. And that can result in a very different style, and mistakes can happen, of course. Now, we're talking about Fahim Antonides, of course. He is the driver who is defending this one tonight, could win it again. I mentioned him in our 4-year anniversary, Will. I said he was the driver I chose as most changed, most influential in the series in the 4 years we've covered it. He sent me a message recently on the forums saying, wow, me? Really? And I sent him a very short reply. Yeah, from the most certain wreck to the most certain winner. But that pretty much describes Fahim for his career in this series from the first year we covered this onwards.
There's been other drivers over the years who I think have come close. Sebastian Joe was always a big one when he came in, and he really used Monday Night Skippys, that method of, in my opinion, honing his racecraft for the big series, the Irish World Championship Grand Prix Series et al. Of course, now he runs in Formula Ford. But I think in terms of the most improved, most developed driver, I don't want to say most improved, Rachel, I'll say most developed driver, we have got to give that to Fahim.
We absolutely do. And speaking of what we're going to give the viewers the qualifying order for tonight. Coming home with the pole position in the final round is Bill Fraser, 151.461. Fahim Antonides puts the last lap in there for 2nd place with a 51.505. Simon Edwards in 3rd place. James McRitchie and Jack Hobbs, your top 5. Ben Daniels, Ewan Patterson, Clark Williams, Matt Cox and Stuart Dick, your top 10. That's a great big qualifying from Stuart Dick there. Robert Plumley, Dave Martin in 12th, Anthony Catt, Dave Kirkman and Chris J. Morris in 15th place, Paul Thurston, Darrell Taylor, Jake Ridlington, Dave Cameron and Barry West in 20th. The rest of those results for you on your screens as we get ready for the final start of the series. Well, or the season, I should say. Not a series, it's not ending after this, but we do have, of course, next week off for week 13. But we are, of course, back again the week after that with a whole new season. And will we see a whole new story?
Well, that's always the thing. A new season on Monday Night Skippys always brings up new surprises. And of course, we're getting to that stage of the year that a lot of people have finished their kind of traditional year-long championships and they look for something to do in the autumn-winter months. So we do often see, Rachel, that the next season we have is arguably going to be the most competitive of the year.
They always are. We have those really kind of quiet periods where one driver dominates everything, then all of a sudden a challenger comes along. And well, the cars are going to head to the grid now for the start of tonight's race. 13 turns on this 2.67 mile racetrack, and we'll be racing for 14 laps in this one. Weather tonight? Oh, it's a bit cool. It's 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temperature is unknown at the moment, which is 75 degrees. It's popped up for us there. It's late afternoon today here in Zandvoort. The winds are westerly from about 12 miles an hour. Humidity 70%, which is what it feels like here in England right now, Will, because it is really muggy.
It really is. It's that kind of humidity that I don't actually like at all. But that will create a bit of a difference in terms of the drafting opportunities for drivers today. And that might make it a little bit easier to get a run into the Audi S.
It certainly will, but of course the cold temperatures means good grip, fast speeds, but unfortunately the high humidity can mean engines will overheat pretty quickly. And there's a lot of corners on this track where people will push that gearbox to its limits. We could see some engines going bang like we've seen in the past as the cars now roll out onto the starting grid for tonight's round, and we get things ready to kick off here at Zandvoort. What a track. What a very, very interesting track to race at. One of the more complicated, I'd say, of the series in terms of lines you have to compromise, passing opportunities. Well, of course, the first corners are a big one, but the guys are going to get themselves ready to kick this one off in just a few seconds' time and finally get underway for the last round of the series, or season. I keep saying series, I don't mean that word. Can Fahim defend his title? Can he be the driver who takes it home again? Or will Simon Edwards pip him to the post and take this one? If Fahim doesn't finish, Simon is in a very good spot. Let's get this thing ready. The flagman is getting ready himself on the stand. Green flag waves. Lap 1 begins. Great start by Bill Fraser up there. Good launch by Tonides, getting right up behind Fraser immediately. Edwards under attack by James McRitchie from behind as they head into the first corner. Bill Fraser defending early. That's quite a nervous line from Bill Fraser as they head through now. Too wide back in the field. We have 43 drivers in the field tonight, so a decent sized grid for this one. Into the turn 4 hairpin. Still Fraser leading the way. Antonides second place. Edwards, McRitchie, no position changes, Will, at the very front. Everyone's staying in their line for now, but that is definitely going to change once we get to the start-finish line again.
We've got ourselves 2 wide, 4 deep, though, in the mid-pack as we have a look from the aerial coverage as they work through the S's in towards Slivak. And, well, these drivers got 1 car turned around, Rachel, but how they were able to stay 2 wide, the majority of them, for so long, I do not know.
Absolutely, that's the likes of Kirkman, Morris, Thurston, et al. There is a car turned around a little bit further back there, just on the exit there. But as the leaders, Plumley turned around, who's in your top 10 in points. P10, in fact. The drivers coming through towards the Audi S now. The trickier section here. We do see passes here sometimes, Will, but it's a very brave place to make a move. No one's looking at the lining anything up at the moment, although just behind your top 3. We have got a good battle there with Hobbs and Daniels, just scouting out passing opportunities on each other. It's Edwards and Antonides that we're keeping our eyes on, of course. The Thrustmaster Movano car and the blue machine there of Edwards. Keep your eyes on those two. They will be critical drivers in this story. Will Bill Fraser write himself a paragraph? It's always likely in these events. It's Fraser defending now, but a good launch there by Antonides coming to the final corner. Defensive early by Fraser. Antonides goes very late there and snaps to the outside wheel. That was brave, actually, as Fraser brakes and lets him in line, but tries to go back on the underside. Can he do it? Is it actually possible to come back on someone or defend to the high side here at Zandvoort in that first banked corner? Very much like a NASCAR corner, Will.
Yeah, and you make the key word there, Nate, Rachel. It's banked, and that means that you can work both the high side, the outside line, or the inside line, or the low side, like they like to call it in the NASCAR. And for him, utilised that to his advantage. He knew that he could overshoot the corner and still find a way of keeping himself on the track in towards Tarzan corner. He now leads the race. Simon Edwards in third. He's a driver now that has got to get aggressive.
He absolutely has to. He's got to find a way to get himself further forwards at the moment. Look back at the pack here with the likes of Clark Williams and Matt Cox at the rear of that one, Daniels and Patterson just a little bit further forwards there with Jack Hobbs. Oh, big jump there by Kirkman, actually. Kirkman got himself up on 2 wheels across one of the curbs. That is not a position you want to be in. Darrell Taylor right behind him there, wanting to try and make a move behind him, his teammate Paul Thurston. Those two, well, we've seen them recently in a couple of these events, Will, sticking together as a team now. The bananas are starting to bunch up. We've made that joke repeatedly, and it feels like I need to take some sunglasses off and walk away from an explosion. CSI style for those sort of puns, but as it stands, they have been working together a lot, and you tend to see those two move through fields as a group rather than individual drivers. But the sharp end, that was nearly a very deep run into the Audi S's with your leaders.
There's
now
a
heading
joke about
towards the
Dick
first corner.
going deep into a corner right now.
I think we should avoid that one for YouTube's sake.
But we've
I mean,
also...
Dick did go very deep there, but right now Dick is being approached behind by Dave, which doesn't sound quite as punny.
Well, and also Kirkman, he's become Curbman over the course of this race so far.
First corner, Will, it's Antonides and Fraser side by side. Edwards can take advantage here as defending Antonides holds off Bill Fraser's attack into that first corner. Fraser not able to reply the way Antonides did to him the first lap round. Edwards now under attack by McRitchie, who's regained traction on this forward group and has bunched himself up there behind Edwards. McRitchie could throw himself into the story too.
Yeah, as we're having a look on board for the rear of Fahim. And the thing for Fahim is he's got to be defensive, but not too defensive. And there's that balance that you're going to have to find in this race. As Bill Fraser is behind and he's charging. Fraser right now has absolutely nothing to lose, Rachel. There's been a bit of bad blood over the years between Fraser and Antonides. So there's nothing really that Fraser wants to do other than race Fahim hard. He's not going to get a free pass in this race from Fraser, from Edwards, or from McRitchie, all the drivers behind. Fahim, if he wants to win this championship, he's going to have to win it by driving like a pro.
He absolutely is, of course. And if Fraser wants to have his chance at third place in this championship, he needs to not fight for him too hard. So the two of them actually benefit from finishing in the order they're currently in. If that happened, Bill Fraser will take third place in the championship away from Anthony Catt, which would be a very big one for him. He's not going to win, but he can still take third, and that is not something to sniff at, of course. So Bill Fraser really is to think about what exactly he wants from this race. The two of them want to keep the car of Simon Edwards behind them, but could Bill Fraser rein in his enthusiasm, or with the size of some of the track side, shall we say, runoff structures, he needs to curb his enthusiasm.
Oh, I think you've outdone me there with Kirkman.
I have, yeah.
Kirkman right now is in 11th place, but he does get a very good run over Anthony Catt as they work themselves down towards the start-finish line. Not quite sure what the situation is with our timing and scoring, ladies and gentlemen. We will try and get that one resolved for you as quickly as we can. But Kirkman, Cox side by side in towards turn number 1. And Kirkman is going to win that battle. Actually, no, that's right. Kirkman and Catt that are going side by side. Kirkman winning on that one. One thing I will say though, Rachel, you're right about Bill Fraser, but sometimes when you have these long-standing rivalries, the drivers don't often see the wood from the trees. So, for Fraser, someone's going to have to tell him, look, P2 is good enough for you third place in the championship.
It certainly is. I want to have a look at Ewan Patterson right now, the 22 car, racing with Hobbs and Daniels. Things getting spicy back here in the bottom end of your top 10. These drivers pushing incredibly hard at the moment, more so than your leaders, and absolutely someone needs to tell Bill Fraser exactly what's at stake here in terms of positioning. But as you know well enough, Will, it's very easy to get those driver's goggles on and just miss the grand scheme of things for the blinkers.
Yeah, I've done it over the years. There's always drivers who I've enjoyed racing with or happily have fun with them. There's always drivers as well that all I ever want to do is beat them on the racetrack. And that's, I think, what we often see here is Patterson then and Hobbs and Daniels very close into the Audi S that time.
Yeah, they really are. Closer, I'd say, than your lead group, actually. These guys pushing hard. Oh, there's a bit of a bump there by the 361 machine of Hobbs on Daniels. Give him a little bit of his front wing there. Let him know he's right behind him as they come to the final corners here on lap number 4. Maybe 10 to go when they cross the line this time by. This second pack's definitely going to be one to watch, but we'll look at the drafting for our leaders there as Fraser's going to get a run here on Antonides. Does Antonides let him take the outside and hope the corner's banking will carry him through this one? Fraser holding station though. Interesting.
Oof.
Bill takes the outside. Antonides goes defensive, but they're staying in position. It's almost like Bill Fraser has worked out what he has to do in this race, because it seems to be they're trying to just take any opportunity to pass away from Simon Edwards.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of the four-letter word that when I say after the word mind, but he wants to play with the mind right now of Fahim. And what we just saw in the replay, Rachel, with Simon Edwards, as a consequence of these two ahead battling, just having to check up big time into Tarzan corner. Now, Edwards has got to be careful. If there's this battle going on with Fraser and Atanades, now, Edwards has got to think, what do I need to do to get out front? He can try and do what we saw in the Blanc Palm and the VRS GT iRacing World Championship, where we saw one team deliberately try and force a kind of match-up amongst guys around him. If Fraser gets into the race lead, he might try and do that with Atanades and with Simon Edwards. But for the time being, Edwards has got to be careful not to take his front wing off.
Yeah, he absolutely does, and it's going to be very, very careful, in fact, because losing that front wing can cause big trouble here at a track like this, where we have some good high-speed corners, where it makes a big difference for these Skippys. They don't have very big wings, but what they have matters intensely for these cars. You'd be surprised. You think, oh, it's tiny. They can't be using that much downforce. They're using every single drop of it at the speed these guys are carrying through corners, and these aren't your average D-licensed Skippy drivers from the official series. These guys are the cream of the crop. Just like the 2K series, when it comes to driving these cars to their absolute limit, Will.
Yeah, these are some of the best Skip Barber Racing School drivers on the club UK&I market. I don't ever like to say in the world, in the club, as here comes Fraser. Yeah, you're right then, side by side, in towards one again. Atanades can just work that inside line the way that Bill Fraser couldn't, Rachel.
He can, but it does seem as though both of them have been pulling up really close to the car in front and then just swooping out at the last second and easing off the gas to try and neutralize that. As we look at the start-finish line, big pack of cars coming in here into your first corner, and it's Gary Tall, Hardwick, and Stack. Oh, contact! With that group, something was going to give. I'll try to work out exactly who that was there. It was the 81 machine of Tony Stack. Incident into turn one there. Gets hit from behind as he's braking by a car. I didn't quite see it. I'd love to see the car's number, but oh, it's the one car there of John McGovern. Outbrakes himself, goes into the back of Stack, and well, they stack up into the corner. That was a given, I think, that joke.
It was.
Or
yeah.
a McGiven.
I'll tell you one thing, though. That was a great save by that number 81 machine. I mean, we need to have another look on board of him. This is in towards center one. He gets it, and again, yes, the banking helped him out a little bit, Rachel, because, you know, if you go up, you're going to come back down again. But he basically drifted that. Didn't go off track at all. Only lost 2 positions.
Absolutely. And have a look at the 16 of Simon Maltby right now. He's in a dogfight that leads all the way back through Kieran O'Flynn, Barry West, Matt Cox, Josh Tomlinson here. These guys are having a good scrap on this part of the field. They've got Anthony Jones there, Christopher Keeble in the mix with this. This is quite a busy race, in fact, down this section of the track. It's towards the bottom end of your top 20 here. These guys go just as hard as the lead pack. Straightened out a bit here towards the Audi S, but they're still pushing these things as hard as they can, and things getting very tight there just behind them. Oh, contact with West. And bigger contact. That was going to unfold somehow, unfortunately, as I'm trying to work out who that car was there, Will. We had Apex Academy driver, the 49 of Josh Thompson, just dives up the inside of Barry West there into the Audi S, second corner, stacks up with him. West has nowhere to go but contacting the number 28 machine of Adrian Hendy, tips Hendy into Thompson, and boom shakalaka.
Yeah, and unfortunately we had just moved ourselves to one of our really nice static cameras, but that was the number 49 Radical 6 Sideways cars that was involved in that one as well. So we just pulled the tape from him. That's the thing with the Audi S, because if you get it wrong, you will often get 2 or 3 drivers involved as a consequence of that one, as Barry West down in P number 28, but we move ourselves now back further forward, Rachel. Kirkman and Williams, these are 2 little drivers that I really enjoy watching try and scrap it. In fact, it's not Kirkman and Williams, it's Kirkman and Dick.
Kirkman and Dick, they've been at it all race, I guess. But, they're doing a decent job at the moment coming through this section of the racetrack. It's always a bit tricky with some of these corners. Tighter than the cars really like, Will, especially the preceding one there. You got a mix of the high-speed corners into some very snappy, big braking moments for these cars, which isn't really their forte. Getting on the brakes and making short, sharp turns really doesn't play well with these little chassis, but The Audi S, the switchback type corner is very good for them. They can handle that very nicely there as Dick is trying to catch hold of Kirkman. Kirkman just ahead at the moment, doing what he can to hold this distance. The cars ahead there, Clark Williams, Ewan Patterson, Jack Hobbs in the lead of that group. They have lost a couple of them. I don't like to work out what happened because they did lose Daniels.
He did, yeah, one strike. Trying to multitask there, it never works when you try to multitask. But yet Daniels there, and we're on board of Daniels actually, as Kirkman was trying to go around the outside of Dick in towards one, but Daniels himself, Rachel, they're going side by side into Tarzan corner, and Daniels looks as though he might be able to get this one. No, he can't. He has to go back in line.
But looking at Dick and Kirkman, Dick has the inside. Can he carry it, or will Kirkman keep the speed around the outside? Too wide battling with these two. Bit of contact as they give each other just enough room there and nothing extra. Stuart Dick might get it now with this next corner in his favour to the left. He does. Stuart Dick takes that place after quite a consistent bit of side-by-side running from those two. Respectful with a little bit of a love tap.
Yeah, there was literally one bit of rubber between them as Kirkman and Dick continue to battle it out. Kirkman in that 9th position right now. They've been doing a good job, Rachel. Actually, we are going to pull up the movers and shakers in this event so far today. And it is worth noting that Kirkman is up 6 places here today.
He certainly is. Kirkman definitely making a move with this one. Darrell Taylor is up 6 as well, 17th to 11th. So he's definitely been a move at the moment. Dave Kirkman along with him. Jonathan Sheen, a big mover, 22nd to 13th there. That's him doing a crazy job there. Kieran O'Flynn up from 27th to 17th. Although one of the bigger fallers, Matt Cox, down from 9th to 23rd. That is not where he wanted to be.
No, it's not. And that's often the thing. Last race of the season, some drivers get it right, some drivers get it horribly wrong, and Matt Cox is your biggest loser inside your top 30 here today.
Oh, the lead, Will. Edwards may have an opportunity here into the first corner. Fraser went out very early and ran wide, and it allowed Edwards to draft up there, bringing him right up to these two. He's lost out and decided to slot back in line now, so it may go back to how it was operating for the last 9 laps or so, but that was probably Edwards' best opportunity so far to try and make a move, and he looks like he's, well, desperate for an opportunity here because he wants to get ahead of Antonides and Fraser.
The thing is, though, getting ahead of Antonides, getting ahead of Fraser isn't enough, so you've got to wonder how aggressive Edwards is going to be, Rachel. And if you're Antonides, if you've got Edwards behind him, you basically move to the other side of the racetrack, get out of the way, let him take the race lead, because Edwards, it's that whole Schumacher-Villeneuve, Schumacher-Hill situation. If Antonides was to be taken out of the event, then Edwards will win the championship. Of course, the other way around, if Antonides was to take Edwards out of the event, Antonides would win the championship. So you've got to be careful here. But if I'm Antonides and you've got Edwards in P2, I'll just accidentally short shift in towards Tarzan corner.
Well, you could say that, but he has got the buffer there of Bill Fraser in 2nd place, which gives him a certain confidence because Fraser also wants a comfortable position here to bring him up to 3rd place in the championship. So Antonides has a tail gunner, and that's going to be the most comforting feeling for a driver leading a race in this event, a guy who doesn't particularly care about passing him at the moment, and who's happy to sit there and can take the flack away from someone out braking themselves, of course, into a corner. And it also seems Edwards really hasn't gotten as close. Fraser, though, big gain this time by, might actually go past Antonides for the first time. He's got a big run there. Edwards not going to be able to gain, but looks like Fraser will actually take the lead here on lap 10. Antonides just bottles a bit of the speed there, but they come out side by side. This is not a good idea, guys. That's giving Edwards exactly what he wants. Time to gain on you and don't make contact, whatever you do, as you race too wide here. Down towards the hairpin, Fraser off. Oh, sideways! Oh, that was the closest moment I've seen in quite some time, and an opportunity for both of them to lose out horribly.
Oh my!
As he loses speed on the exit, and Antonides, oh my God! There was a car spun across the racetrack in the worst possible location. And that's the 76 machine of Christopher Keeble, just in the wrong place at exactly the right time. That could have been disastrous with the leaders too wide.
Christopher Keeble could have just decided this entire championship. We're going to get a replay. I'm just going to
Edwards up second, by the way.
Yeah, and Edwards is up to second. Now, that's not an issue right now for Fahim, as they were the leaders just going past. But Keeble, very almost there, Rachel, determined this championship had he have not have held onto those brakes.
Oh, absolutely. He just spins, unfortunately, right in front of your leaders there. That's them coming out of the corner into this one. And that was so nearly a massive, massive mess. What I will say, though, is now Edwards is in second place. If he can get to the back of Antonidas, I guarantee he will go for the pass on the front stretch, where it seems Bill Fraser has not been doing so. But Fraser's attempted to run there and attempted to take the lead nearly cost them both everything. In fact, he got onto the gravel on the inside of one of the corners where he could have speared Fahim. So a very shaky attempt at a pass there by Fraser, when he was kind of almost throwing away his own championship, at least fighting for the third place there. Here we go, onto the front stretch. Edwards second place, but not close enough to make a move here on Antonidas. Fraser close enough, though. He might make a move here on Edwards. He'll sit back in line.
Had
Edwards gets sideways a bit, as they both get sideways.
Yeah, had Edwards have been a car length and a half closer, you would have seen Antonidas move out the way, Rachel. I do not think that he's going to try and fight Edwards in this form of situation. You know, well, okay, if Antonidas does fight Edwards, then he's not learned everything he needs to do to be a multi-time champion. And there's a different thing. There's a lot of people that say if you're not first, you're last. In this sort of situation, Antonidas does not need to win this motor race. He can allow Edwards to finish ahead. In fact, he can fall to the back of this 4-car pack and still win the championship. If I was Antonidas, I might just do that now.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, in this situation, Edwards is desperate to get there. He needs to be there. I would let him go. It's one of those situations you, of course, want to win the race. Every driver does. But is it risk versus reward? And that is the biggest topic, of course, in motorsports. The race win or the championship title. You've got to have a long forethought, Will. You've got to really sit there and think, what matters at the moment to me? This title or an individual race win that no one remembers? Everyone remembers the championship winners. That's all that matters. For him, well, he's got a big, tough decision to make. And at some point, Edwards will force him into that decision-making process, and he will have no opportunity but to decide. Bill Fraser, though, might be trying to get himself back involved here again. He might not be fighting for the win, but, well, second would be a lot nicer.
Edwards, this is going to be his chance. Exit of Arrow
Big
Right
gain.
corner. Yeah, he's got a better run than he did last time by. Gap's only 2 car lengths, Rachel, as they come towards the start-finish line. Edwards right now should go high. Antonidas should let him through.
3 wide, nearly there into the first corner. This is not what anybody in that group wants to have, actually, as Antonidas holds the tight line very well. Fraser comes in behind him, nearly contact there. Edwards side by side now with Antonidas. This is where, if I was Antonidas, I would back out and let him go. And it looks like Antonidas hasn't. No, he hasn't. He really wanted to hold on, but he's kind of forced to let him go. I'm not sure whether Antonidas let that happen or was forced to let it happen, Will. It's actually tough to see, but I think he kind of eased off.
The thing is, if you got the inside line into Tarzan, there's a driver on your outside. You almost have
Fighting
to.
back.
What are you doing there, Antonidas? You don't need to make this pass. Take over, Rachel.
It's that tunnel vision. It's the racer blinkers where he sees only first place. He wants to win the championship with a victory, whether that's necessary or not, and I think he's going to try for it, but these are not the right opportunities. Wait in line, draft past at the first corner. That is all you need for him. Making crazy curb jumping passing attempts is not where this race needs to go, as sideways as well. These drivers all getting their tails out a bit in this one. The cars just not quite adhering to the racing surface as much as they would like in towards the Audi S. Don't go for here for him, please. Whatever you do, do not dive for it. And he's going to try something stupid, and he will lose his championship. These cars are all too close together. Fraser tapped there from behind by McRitchie. McRitchie nearly dunked Fraser's biscuit in that one.
And there's lap traffic, Rachel. This is what's going to scare me even more. There's going to be lap traffic coming into play. There's going to be 2 laps to go at the line. And again, I mean, I say this, and a lot of people will give me slack for saying so. Antonidas does not need to go to the outside right now. He does not need to make this pass. He does not need to win this motor race. He can easily fall back to the rear of this pack and still win the championship comfortably. Outside, though, Tarzan corner, Antonidas has the lead again.
He does, but he could so nearly have been pushed into by I'm lost for words. He could have nearly been pushed into by Simon Edwards, pushing wide there, not able to hold the inside line quite as well. You've got to have faith in that driver on the low side in that corner to make a high side pass, and he took the chance. I'm not sure I would have done. It's one of those adding up the odds and risk assessment situations of motor racing. You've got to have a cool head to actually look through. And tonight, as though desperate to get back to the front, he did it in the safest place, to be fair. But Edwards up the inside. Oh, good God, I can't watch. This is getting even more delicate, Will, than we possibly could have imagined. Edwards nearly went for a dive bomb there that really wouldn't have helped either of them, but
Well, it would have helped Edwards.
I think we're seeing a sign of possible desperation kicking in from him. He desperately wants to get ahead of him.
And that's the thing. If Edwards makes a dive bomb and Atonides goes out, that's fine if Simon Edwards continues to end this motor race. Atonides needs to remember he is right now the vulnerable party. Lap traffic will move out the way, Rachel. We got the Audi S, 2 corners and 1 lap to go.
2 corners, 1 lap. And Bill Fraser looking all over the back of Simon Edwards, which could definitely involve himself in this event. Antonides securely through the Audi S. Just now, 1 double apex right, or 2 corners if you want to call it that way, to the end of the lap. 1 final lap here. Edwards will have a good run on Antonides. If he defends this, I'm going to be very, very surprised, but I think he will, unfortunately. So I'm not surprised at all. I'm struggling to English right now because this is actually more intense than I could possibly imagine. Antonides may decide his own race here as Bill Fraser goes for an opportunity, which seemed a little bit crazy there. Everyone seems to be a little bit lacking in grip, it seems almost. Things seem to be a bit slidey on the racetrack as Edwards there side by side with Bill Fraser. That's a fight they can engage in, but Fraser's less to lose. Edwards though will hold second, but the opportunity to pass Antonides didn't come for him. This might be Antonides' ticket as Edwards is dropped behind by a decent distance. Looking back towards Hobbs, Williams and Patterson in the 5th, 6th and 7th places. They're in a decent fight with themselves. Dick still ahead of Kirkman. Behind them we've of course got Darryl Taylor and Jonathan Sheen, or Ben Daniels, sorry, fighting out. It looks as though Taylor is winning that fight. Everybody else really separated out in the field behind these guys at the moment. This is our big race. Can Edwards find an opportunity? Will he make a very brave dive here? Something possibly self-detrimental, Will. I'm not sure, but Edwards seems to have lost a bit of speed here as Fraser is actually all low for him at the moment.
Yeah, it's Atonides' race, Rachel. Simple as that. Atonides.
Oh, contact.
He's held on. Atonides has got this race. Fraser right now battling for second.
He is, and Fraser's got less to lose than Edwards has. Edwards might see the writing on the wall, but Bill Fraser doesn't yet, as he's going to try for something. It's not going to be in the Audi S, though. No time for that. McRitchie holding on to the back of this group, maybe hoping someone takes somebody out for a podium spot for him. Taking the Clark Williams role in this race. Antonides, great lead, about a 5 to 8 car lead there for him as he'll come through the final corner. For him, Antonides, whilst it may not have been the wisest move, took back the lead and will take the victory and the championship for this Season 3 2018. Team Antonides is your Monday Night Skippys champion with a race win here tonight at Zandvoort. What a race, Will. My heart's been pumping for the last 10 laps, I think, because these guys have been good at it. This has been far more entertaining and exciting than I needed, I think, right now.
Yeah, Kirkman and Dick go side by side towards the start-finish line. I mean, yes, okay, Rachel, he won it, but, you know, you see people at go-karting events when their kid wins a motor race and they get out of the car and the first thing that happens, they get slapped around the back of the head saying, what did you do?
Exactly.
That's kind of what I'm thinking with Fahim right now. He drove a great race, but he didn't need to be that aggressive. He just basically could have done it the easy way, fall to the back of that top 4. You would have had the championship, and the thing is, Rachel, the reason I say top 4, the gap between McRitchie and Hobbs was 7.1 at the end of this motor race.
It absolutely was, and that was a huge difference in the end, and not perhaps what they needed at this point. They were all going so incredibly quickly, but a fantastic run nonetheless. I will actually tell you a very quick story, though, Will, with that regards. The GT3 Sprint Series here on iRacing, I was actually running this a year or two ago, and my crew chief at the time, a guy called Rob Reed, was managing me through the race, leading comfortably by about a second for the first half, then 8 or 9 for the rest of the race. I decided to go for the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. He's saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I did it. I got the fastest lap, but at the same time, I really shouldn't have done. That's what I mean by the racer's goggles. You get that thing of, oh, I can do it, it's going great, it's fine. And a lot of the time it is fine. Unfortunately, you only remember the ones where it is not fine. In this case, it worked out for Fehim Antoniades, and I am so proud of him that he managed to do this one again. I mentioned him as my most improved driver in the 4 years we've covered this series, and I'm looking forward to congratulating him tonight, just as I would have looking forward to congratulating Simon Edwards. Both of them, phenomenal drivers in this series. Bill Fraser had a fantastic drive here as well, and McRitchie, lightning fast here as well. Phenomenal drive from him. Well, we'll go through our post-race results. Coming home with the win, Fehim Antoniades there in the number 11 car with a win here at Zandvoort. Simon Edwards and Bill Fraser complete your podium. James McRitchie and Jack Hobbs your top 5. Clark Williams and Ewan Patterson with Stuart Dick, Dave Kirkman and Dave Martin is your top 10. Darrell Taylor, Ben Daniels, Jonathan Sheen, Simon Maltby and Gary Tall in 15th place. Anthony Jones, Tony Stack, Nick Phillips, Matt Cox and Neil A. Jackson in 20th. Rest of the results on your screen as we get a chance to chat to Season 3 2018 champion Fehim Antoniades. And before I ask for your thoughts on the race of the season, Fehim, what in the blue blazes were you doing?
I was having a race.
Yeah, we noticed. Why?
Well, why not?
Why not?
Did you realise you nearly threw your championship away about 3 separate times?
Well, no, I think I needed to finish ahead of. I needed to finish. So here's the way I saw it. If Simon was going to win the race, I needed to come in second.
There's an integral word there. You had to finish the race too.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is I had total faith in the guys I was racing against, Bill and Simon, and obviously they can trust that I'm not going to do anything that's going to take them out. So I just thought, why not add a little bit of spice to the end of the season. I had a lot of guys watching me at Thrustmaster Milano as well, so I thought I'd put on a bit of a show, because I did say to them earlier, you know what, I'm just going to do what I need to do to haul in the points and win the championship. And I thought at the beginning of the race, no, let's have a race and make a show of it, and hopefully it was good fun to watch.
It certainly was good. Well, I'd say it was good fun. It probably was for a lot of viewers, but I know myself and Will had our hearts in our hands as we watched that, because it was a bit scarier than we wanted, especially that lap with the spun car across the line in front of you when yourself and Fraser came out of the corner side by side. A bit more than perhaps you needed there.
Yeah, I saw that spun car, and my first thought was I've got to give enough room for Bill to make it through, because the cheap shot would have been to close the road up and have him check up not to hit the parked car. So I moved over as far right as I could to make sure that he got through as well. But it added a little bit more spice to the whole thing, didn't it?
You did, and you seem very blasé about the fact that we were terrified up here in the booth for you with how many times things came very close for you guys in that event. But regardless, for him, a fantastic season and a fantastic championship, a brilliant race.
Thank you very much. I really want to thank the guys who I raced with today. It's a shame that Simon didn't clinch the championship. In my opinion, he's mounted a campaign which was superior to those that were mounted by past champions. It just so happens that the competition was such and his luck was such that he didn't make it, despite the fact that I think that he drove better and more consistently than others who have won it previously, including one or two of my previous championships. So it's a shame. I hope he wins his next one, if it's not me. And also Bill, he had a really rotten season. And hopefully next season he can mount a proper championship run again, so that we can have even better racing for next time round. And I'd also like to thank my team who've been necking me on Thrustmaster Milano. As you've said yourself, Rachel, a few times, they've brought out a different side in me, and I've got to thank them very much for that.
Great words there from Fehim Antoniades, winning the championship and the race here at Circuit Park Zandvoort. Congratulations to you, Fehim. And we'll go next to the man who came home second today in the race and the points. Simon Edwards, commiserations. It was so close.
It was. It was a good championship. I really wasn't going for the championship. I was just trying to enjoy each race as it went along, and I think that just kept me more relaxed. And, in this race, I wasn't too bothered really because I knew Farham had such a lead in the championship. But his drove really well this season, like you said, and. He was almost unbeatable. I had to finish every race at the podium or win a few more to have a chance, really. But I had to go in that last race just to try and show that I had some spunk.
Well, spunk you had. A phenomenal season had by you there, and a fantastic season in general, not just the races. But it has been a great one for you, of course. We looked at what you've had. You had a win this season. And compared to Fahim's 5, to be that close at the very end with only one win has been incredible consistency from you, Simon. So that is nothing to turn your nose up at. An incredibly consistent season and hopefully a chance at another one next season.
Yes, I'll try and do the same next season, just take it race by race and just try and enjoy each race rather than go for the championship and just let that settle where it settles. I also want to thank Daniel Hunt, who sent me a replacement T500 base, which kept me in the championship, mid-championship, as well. And he just sent it just for the postage price, which I thought was fantastic.
That's very kind of him. Well, thank you to him. Well, thanks for joining us, Simon, and congratulations on PT.
Thank you.
Up next, we've got a chance to touch you, Dave Kirkman, who had a very busy race battling Stuart Dick for most of this event, from the start to the end. Dave, top 10 finish here today at Zandvoort and a fantastic run.
Yeah, that was a really great race. I had a really good qualifying and then a really good battle with Stuart towards the end. It was really difficult racing Dave Martin because he was just flickering on and off all the time. I think everyone was kind of moaning about him, but yeah, it was a really good race, really good result, especially after coming away. I was 7th in the last race. Unfortunately, my PC crashed, which was a bit gutting, so it was nice to get in the top 10.
Certainly was. Well, a fantastic run from you, and certainly a great race result to start off and head into a new season.
Yeah, well, I started the season with a 7th place, so and I was 8th until the end and the last lap. So yeah, it was a good season. I'm improving each season, so hopefully next season I'll be able to do even better.
We certainly hope so. Well, thanks for joining us, Dave Kirkman, coming home today in P number 9. Well, up next we have a bunch of bananas with us. We've got Barry West and we've got Paul Thurston. And we'll start with you, Barry. A busy one for you. The race has been it's been a tricky season, let's say, but you've had definitely an improved season this time by. Finished in 23rd today, but definitely an active 23rd.
Yes, it was. I was lucky to get 23rd because I started 20th and was up to P19 with chance of. Well, I think I was with just behind Simon. We were having a good little battle, and somebody dive bombed me into the chicane. I just couldn't believe it. I was on the normal line, and they came across the curb, split into the side of me. I think two other cars out, and ended up on their way down. But then just managed to get back up to 23rd. So yeah, it was an eventful race. A bit lonely after that, but it was a good little battling before. I mean. Wish people would work together a little bit more than trying to fight tooth and nail right at the beginning of the race, because things will, respect people's qualifying times and just work with them to keep in the pack. But it just seems to be everybody wants to fight for every inch of track, which is part of the fun, I suppose. But it's okay when it comes off. But yeah, when you're the wrong end of it, yeah. But anyway, yes, it was good to have 4 bananas on track. Anyway, I think we all finished in the points, so it was good.
Quite a few indeed. Thank you very much, Barry. And unfortunately, one of the bananas got ejected out the back of someone's car, Mario Kart style. Oh. He had a bit of a donk, Paul. What happened?
Well, I basically went to I was following Darryl. Darryl was at Business Championship, so I wasn't going to challenge Darryl particularly. But I went to the right to defend against Jonathan Sheen. I was on the inside, he was on the outside. I braked, he braked, I was in front, he turned in on me. drove over me, then drove off. So my car was trashed, his was fine. It's just the way it works sometimes. But I am puzzled why he turned in. Because that was going really well, because it was a good little... I hadn't done any practice at all for this, but I tried a little setup tweak in practice today, and it sort of suddenly gained me like 0.3 to half a second.
Someone changing a setup in a Skippy? What
We
is it, wizardry?
This idea that nobody changes setups is mythical. There's a lot of setup changes go on in the skips. But a lot of it's placebo, but the odd thing does make a big change, and one of the things that really makes a difference is brake balance, brake bias. You'll find that people using anything from like sort of 55, 56 right down to like 48. And what that does is it really changes how the car turns in under the brakes. You'll find that the people who are using the higher, the more forward brake biases, they'll do all their braking in a straight line, they'll change down in a straight line, they won't be tail braking so much, and then they'll be rolling it into the apex. A lot of the time they tend to be the fast boys actually. But then you'll find other people who actually prefer to trail brake. If you're trail braking, you want the bias further back. So you're actually locking the rears very slightly. It's a really fine balance. Every race will, within the team, we'll be chatting about it in the practice sessions and saying, what's the quorum today, guys? And we tend to change with somewhere between the 51, 53. But one click can transform the setup and just make it change it from undrivable to sweet. And get a nice balance. And tyre pressures again. I mean, I had one click more on the front right this race, and it made a real difference over a run because the car was a lot more consistent. So the changes you're making are very small, but they do make a really big difference to the car.
Well, they certainly do, and thank you for the masterclass there in the Skippy setups, actually, Paul. But it's been a busy season, of course, not always the best results you wanted, but at the same time, you definitely had a good one. Yeah,
I had good fun. I mean, last season, I was taking a bit more seriously, and I got a really good result. I mean, this season, I was always going to ease off because, yes, I bought new pedals. I knew that it would take time to adjust to those. It always does with new kit. Hopefully soon I'll upgrade the wheel, get a direct drive. So. Next season is probably trashed as well, but I'll be here and I'll have some fun. This is just a great little league. I mean, what Simon was saying there about Daniel, just giving him a wheel effectively. I mean, that sort of thing goes on a lot around UK&I within the forum. Somebody will break, and somebody will say, "Oh, I've got a pair of them. I've got a pair of ponies you can have." Because you need it for a league race. Oh, that's not a problem, I've got one of those out the back. It happens all the time. It's happened ever since I've been in sim racing, right from the UK GPL days. It's a really good spirit among the UK&I guys. People argue a bit, but only about minor things like Brexit and stuff. Nothing that matters.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up for tonight, folks. Thank you for joining us, Paul, Dave, Simon, and of course Barry, Fahim, and everybody else who's joined us tonight. We're going to wrap things for this one. Thank you so much for joining us here at Monday Night Skippys. It's been a phenomenal season. We look forward to it. Of course, keep your eyes on Calm. That's the Campaign Against Living Miserably in our description there. And of course, thank you to Esteban Ballo for his incredible cameras. Will and I will bid you a good night. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.